Hey guys, today we are talking about how to stop making excuses. So you want to coach the people around you to stop making excuses, and we want to help yourself to stop making excuses. I know for me, I have to coach people and, they come up with this excuse or that excuse. And, sometimes you don't know when the appropriate time to challenge people is. It's like, how do you challenge people respectfully, but still get the effect that you're after? I like to say there's kind of an excuse chart, right? And so we want people to be really dialed into the idea that they can make their goals happen, but they have to get rid of these excuses. Now, there's 3 categories. There's social excuses, there's family and personal excuses, and then there's work excuses. So let me give you some examples. I'm going to use food examples. So social excuses. So you might say, oh, it's Julia's birthday. I have to take a few bites of cake, or I have to go out and drink when everyone else is because it's a party, it's her baby shower, it's this, it's that. It would be rude for me to go to dinner and just not eat at all, right? Let me tell you the story about Nobu. So if you've ever been to Nobu, it's an extremely expensive restaurant in New York City. I'd been to the one in Miami, but I had some people who invited me to go and they said, we're taking care of everything. They really wanted my business for something. And so they were like trying to wine and dine me. And so literally the dinner we had was over $2,000. And I, at the time, had committed to doing a fast. And literally the people that went with me, Heather went with me. She, literally to this day, she still talks about the Chilean sea bass that she had. But they had this thing, there was Wagyu beef. Wagyu beef is $38 an ounce there. So if you had an 8-ounce steak, it was $304 for a steak, Wagyu beef steak. So they were, again, like, get anything you want. My grandmother was there. She's 99 years old and I'm seeing her. And so it was like, here at this time, I made this crazy decision to fast and I didn't want to make excuses. So that night I just said to them, listen, I'm sorry, but I'm fasting, so I'm not going to eat anything. And meanwhile, they did family style. They were like passing the plates and I'm like smelling all the food. But you know what? I didn't make an excuse. So social excuses is number 1. Number 2 is family excuses. For example, my son only ate 2 bites of his food. I'm not going to let that go to waste. Or I came home and my husband made dinner, so I don't want to be rude. I don't want him to feel like I didn't appreciate it. Maybe your son made breakfast and eggs and bacon as a surprise. And you're like, oh, I just don't want to break his little heart. The fear is that I can't do that. I can't meet my obligations of being a good mom. But here's what you have to say to yourself, like, me not eating doesn't mean I'm not a good mom. So there's plenty of times I eat with my family, but I'm not physically eating food, right? So I'm eating, but I'm just sitting with them. Just because I'm not putting the knife, down and the fork down, that doesn't mean that I'm not being a good mom. Like, I'm actually being a better mom because I'm listening more, I'm talking more, I'm kind of explaining what's going on. And so that's a lie that you can't sit there and be a good mom and eat dinner with your family, but you're not actually eating the food. It doesn't matter. Another excuse is work excuses. So you might say, we're having a potluck today and it smelled so good, I had to participate. Oh, I'm so stressed, the food will make me feel better. No, we're not eating our emotions, people. We're not doing it. So if you've got to get rid of that snack drawer or get rid of the snacks around you, for me personally, I had a snack drawer and I had healthy snacks in there. But the problem is I still was tempted when I was stressed at work to go into that snack drawer. So for me, I just decided that snack drawer is not going to be there. We used to have vendors bring in like hot and crispy donuts and popcorn and all of this stuff. And we just talked to them and said, you know what? Let's save that for certain times when we know we're going to have it. But just every day having Krispy Kreme and popcorn tins and pretzel tins, like, that's just too much. So one of the things I've noticed is that people make excuses, but they do it with the perception that you're letting people down. So you have that feeling that it's like, I feel like I'm going to be letting someone down. And that is what really holds people back. So let me give you some examples to contradict that. For example, my friend Christy, she used to be an English as a second language teacher. She gave an example of where she used to have people bring her cake all the time. She'd have goodies because people from other cultures like to say thank you, right? You'd bring them food and bring them this. So she was like all the time, people would be like, oh, I brought you a cake. I brought you snickerdoodles. I brought you this. I brought you that. And she was like, they would want them to eat it right then. They would be like, oh, eat it, try it, see if you like it. And so she would always say, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful for this. This is so nice of you. I'm not eating until later today. I'm fasting right now, but I'm going to eat later on tonight and I definitely will try it. But I just want you to know, I am so grateful for this. This was so kind of you. But she didn't fall into that pressure. She didn't fall into letting people down. She was like, my health is more important. I'm not eating right now. I'll tell you my guacamole story. I have this in my book, Waste Away, but I'll tell it again because it's such a good one. As you guys know, I make an incredible guacamole. And when I bring guacamole to a party, it is like flies on poop. So literally everybody they see me coming with the guacamole. I'm not joking you when within 5 minutes, the guacamole's gone. And she didn't want to miss out on it. So what she did, one time I noticed she took several scoops of guacamole and she put it in the fridge. And I was like, what are you doing? She said, well, I'm not hungry right now, but I'm going to wait until I actually am hungry. But I know if I wait, that guacamole is going to be gone. And she was right. It would have been gone. So she didn't want to miss out, but she took it and she said, I'm not hungry right now. That is what a thin eater does. They wait until they're physically hungry and then they eat. But she decided to put it in the fridge. And when she was hungry, about an hour and a half later to 2 hours later, you saw her. She went in the fridge. She ended up eating that guacamole. So let me ask you this question. How important is your goals to you? Like, do you really want this or not? Because if you say that it's important to you and you say that this is the goal that you want, isn't it worth a little discomfort? So this is about accountability, and this is about major routine change. So one of the things you have to ask yourself, so when you're fed the lie of like, am I being a good mom because I'm not actually physically putting a fork to my mouth at the dinner table? Again, you would say, no, I'm being a great mom. I'm sitting down with my son. I'm sitting down with my husband. I'm enjoying dinner with them. Just because I'm not physically putting food in my mouth doesn't mean anything is I'm not any less of a mom. Think about that time with Nobu. Do you think anyone at that restaurant with Nobu didn't have a good time? No, they actually had a better time because I wasn't eating. So they got more of the food. So they're like, yes, I'm getting more food, right? Number two, we had a wonderful time. Nobody was like, oh, it would have been better if Chantel was eating that day. No, nobody cared that I wasn't eating. So here's the thing. You can still be everything you want just because you aren't physically eating. Just because you aren't putting food in your mouth doesn't mean that you aren't a great mom, that you're not a great friend, that you're not a great anything. That is a lie, and don't fall for it. And remember this, you're being actually a greater mom because then if you ate this huge big dinner, right? Guess what? You're going to be tired. You're not going to have enough energy to play and enjoy time with your kids. So let me say this, you have control of whether you will make the excuses or not make the excuses, but you have to stop the lies so that you'll stop making the excuses. See you guys next time.